So welcome to this virtual online launch party, which I never heard about before. But when I had my book that came out just before the new year and I wanted to do a launch party. Oh, hello, one more is coming in. Awesome. Hello. I just started up the recording and keep going. Anyway, let me just start all over. Now we just had another participant joining in. So for me, when I launched my book, and it came out actually on the 27th of December, and I wanted to do this online launch party. I wanted to do a launch party. And it didn't make a lot of sense to me to do it in Denmark, because most people I talked with said, I'll wait to get out in Danish. Because in my country, we speak Danish, and that's where my accent is. English is my second language. So I decided to do it online because I know so many people and I work with a lot of people that live outside of Denmark. And I wanted to be able to share this because life after bullying had been a dream of mine for about 5 years. That's when I started the first attempt to write it. And over the years, I'd been like paused and then started over again. And then 1.5 years ago, I totally rewrote the whole thing because I had grown and the thing I wanted to give to you was something different than when I started. But before we really go into the content, I want to share about me and my journey. And why did I write Life After Bullying? In the first grade, when I started school, I got this teacher that of some reason she decided I was stupid. That was the message that she embedded in me. I couldn't learn. And from that time on, I believed I was stupid because I have heard from the top authority, my teacher, that I was stupid. So of course I was. So now I think about it as being bullied by my teacher because that was really what she was doing. The thing was as well that my classmates, they were so afraid, I think, that's my interpretation, that they start to bully me as well. I was the girl that was never invited to a birthday party. I was the girl who was invited last when we were doing like ball games and you have to choose everyone, you know. Nobody really wanted me. So I was always the last to be added on to one of the teams. Over the years, not only in those classes, but I've been experiencing bullying over and over again in a lot of circumstances. But during those first 3 years, I never shared it with my parents. I never shared with anyone. Because I don't know if that was because it was a teacher who bullied me or why. But it was my own secret. Until the Christmas in grade 3. My mother, who is a teacher, was a teacher at that time, now she's retired. And she always loved school. She asked me and she told me in the later years when I started writing the book. And she said, when I really knew that was when I asked you, aren't you excited to go back to school after the Christmas holiday? And I said, no, I don't want to go back. And she realized something was terrible, terrible wrong. And she started to work on having me change class, which happened at the end of grade 3. So at the end of grade 3, I was unable to read. I couldn't read a single word at that time. Of course, when you can't read, you can't really learn anything at school. So that was where I was when I moved class. And I still remember the very first word I ever read. I was giving my cat food, and I was sitting at the floor with the cat box, and the name of this cat food said Kisser, Kisser, which was the same as our cat's name. And I was so excited that I finally read. And I moved into reading a lot. I just started to love books, and I loved to read. But the thing was, I was still the stupid one that couldn't learn. So no matter I read books, I got fairly good marks in school, I was still stupid in my own perspective, because that was what wasn't better than me. I couldn't believe the marks. And I only got high marks like in written things because oral, my voice had gotten so low and I was so afraid to speak up. So I hardly ever spoke a word to anybody. And when I did, usually it was overheard because I was mumbling and I was speaking so soft. One of my good friends today, who was the wife of one of my partner's friends, she told me this fall when I shared about the book projects and how it was going. She said, yeah, she remember when she met me the first time. I was very nice, but hard to speak to. And that was a good description of me at that time. I tried to please everyone, but I was so afraid to speak up. And I hated to be in bigger social events. I usually go out and help out in the kitchen or somewhere with only a few people. Or you'll find me standing alongside the wall somewhere. And if I could, I really avoid to get there. So that was me in a nutshell. Over the years, well, I never really got friends in the new class, but it was still much, much better than the old one. And the other thing I didn't, like when there was several incidents that I still remember where I was bullied. Like one night when I was laying in bed, some of the other participants in the camp that I was at, trying to kind of get social, they were standing and putting salt and pepper in my head when I was pretending to sleep and talking really mean. And I was just laying there, sleeping, believe I'm sleeping, and the tears were swelling up in my eyes. And yeah, I was lucky because I met my boyfriend in an early year, and I don't know what he saw in me, I always said to him, but he got a big support in me. And we got married eventually. And then when I was 29, and my little boy was my oldest was half a year old, he didn't sleep much. And my husband got a new job. So he was away for all the week, of course, but also in the weekends. 2 weekends in a row, he was supposed to do some trainings. And in the second weekend, I was so tired. I was so tired from not sleeping. I wanted him badly to stay at home the next day and play sick. And I was thinking in my own head. And at that time, I hardly ever spoke up. And I was thinking, I really got to tell him to stay home tomorrow because I cannot take this anymore. I need sleep. And then something happened. My husband came home and he was radiating. It was so exciting. This course, this training, it's like, I get so much out of it. It's exciting. And what did I do? I chose to not speak up. I chose to let him go away the next day. And that changed my life completely. And I know that always is, how can that be? Because usually it only changes your life if you do something. In this case, It changed my life that I didn't do anything. We are back in 96, where the internet hardly exists. So usually it's very hard to get to know what else is out there. And in Denmark, I hadn't seen anything that could help me. And I really hadn't searched for it because I didn't know what to search for. But the next day, my husband came home and the teacher had told him about a book that he could get in the States. And I'm here in Europe, in Denmark. So over at the States, we never saw what's out there. So he got this book in the mail. And what happened back then, what's happening, is that when you get something in the mail, you would get a booklet full of everything else that they sell. And this company, Learning Strategy Corporation, that still exists, they had some tapes out there. They were so back as tapes, cassette tapes. And they had something called anxiety free. And when I was trying to sleep, I could get so afraid that I couldn't sleep. And at that time in my life, I didn't know much about how the bullying had impacted my life. But I knew that I had this anxiety for not being able to sleep. So that's where I really started. I got this tape, and at the same time, they had one called the 10 Minutes Energizer, Deep Relaxation. And then when you bought 3 tapes, you got a 4th free. And that was Self-Esteem Supercharger. So that's what started my journey. I started with those tapes. They helped so much that I started to sleep more. I started to feel a little bit better. And then they offered tapes again and again, and courses and stuff. You get these mails, and I started to buy everything. And then I decided that this was what I want to do. So a couple of years after, we moved to Germany, and I took a big jump out. And I started to change. I decided to say yes to everything I could do to jump outside the comfort zone. So I pushed myself over and over and over again. And I started to heal. And I started to realize that maybe I wasn't so introvert, so shy, and maybe I did have a voice. It didn't heal everything just doing these tapes and this stuff, but it helped me a long way. And one of the first things that I saw that helped me, that it worked what I was doing, was one day when I was getting out of the car with my 2 kids, a neighbor came over to me and said, "Wow, your boy is so quiet. You must have that from your husband because you're so outgoing." Remember, my little voice, my shy little person who was never speaking, never doing things, I was told I was outgoing. I ran up to my husband and said, "It worked!" And that night we celebrated. And yeah, that was the first step. That was the first time when I really saw that what I was doing was working. Fast forward some years, I took a training in the States. My husband said, "So you ready for the next step?" So when Jack Canfield, one of my big mentors, he offered a 1-week training in the States, I took a big jump. At that time, I was still suffering from social anxiety. It had gotten better, but it wasn't easy for me to get over there. When I took the first deep breath in and jumped and went into that room with 400 other participants who all spoke English, no one spoke Danish, I was sitting at the edge of that room because I was too afraid to go into the middle. I wanted to be able to run out and take some air and take a break if needed. And during that first day, something very strange happened for me. We did a visualization, a guided meditation, where we were to see our life purpose. And I don't know if any of you ever done that, but it was a very special experience for me. And I ended up with my tears running down my cheeks, because what I saw in that visualization was me turning into an eagle, fly across the countries, and see myself speaking. And remember, that time my voice was so low still. And every time I was speaking with people, I had to push myself and speak up. I was screaming. But I had this visualization. And I was thinking by myself, can't be true. I'm doing it wrong. My self-esteem was still not that bad and that big. So I was really thinking, I'm doing it wrong. And I went up to one that was helping out and said, this is not right. I'm doing it all wrong. Like, this is what I saw. Can't be right. Like, me, I'm so shy. I cannot imagine standing up and speak to other people. Like, and I see this picture speaking to hundreds of people. It's wrong. And he said to me, if you have that, if you can see it, it's because that's your purpose. Well, I dismissed that and said, look, no. And I went on with the training. And I changed a lot during just that 1 week. That at the end of the week, people were asked to acknowledge other people. And Jack Canfield would point out to a few people to kind of have them stand up and acknowledge another one who had to stand up. And the first person that acknowledged somebody, she chose me. And I still get chunked up when it happened, because I never expected anyone to see me like that. So she said how I came into the room in the beginning and how I was now was such a change. And I realized that really, really helped me to change. So Jack Canfield offered a training, a 1-year training. We had to come back 3 times over that year. And I signed up realizing that everything, if I could change that much in 1 week, how could I change in a year? So I signed up, and that took me on a whole other journey. So I went back to the States over the next 3 years and took one training after the other training after the other training. And my life has changed completely since then. So back to Life After Bullying, to my book. Because as my life changed, I wanted to get the message out to other people that your life can change too. That no matter how you believe you are, because I believed I was totally introvert. I believed that I was just not outgoing. I was just that anxiety-ridden girl who had a low voice, that was my true belief of me. And I realized that's not who I am. That might not be who I am. And it wasn't who I was. I'm not the party girl. That's not like, but sometimes I do it and feel awesome, but I'm much more outgoing today. I'm definitely not introvert today. And the social anxiety, it's gone. I speak international. I have spoken for hundreds of people. Something that was so far out of my sphere that I couldn't believe just 7 years ago. But today, that's my life. And I want you to know, I want the world to know that you can change. And that's why I designed Life After Bullying as a 3-step process to help you change your life using this. So it's a self-help book with a lot of exercises, and I'm sharing my story to encourage you to change. So I got a few slides on to really show what is life after bullying. And I want you to know, if you have any question, you can write it in the chat. And then let me just get my screen share. So you can write in the chat if you have any questions. And then I will see it every once in a while. I'll take a look at it. So here you have, I hope you can see the whole thing. For some reason it's not. So when Life After Bullying was almost finished in the summer of last year, I sent it out to several people. And one of the ones I sent it out to was the founder of Learning Strategies. And I was very humble when he wrote this to me, the foreword that you see here. And he also wrote to me in a private email that Life After Bullying is not only for people who have been bullied, but for everyone with anxiety and PTSD. That really humbled me a lot, because I had no idea that it had that impact. Another one wrote back to me when she read it and said, "We never met, but you might know me better than anyone else." This feedback was so humble. Like I had no idea how much this book would mean for everyone. So having that feedback, that showed that I was into something that was right. So Life After Bullying, the 3-step to inner peace. I just got this graphic made to illustrate it. And the roots of the graphic, that's everything that we learned so far until we decide to change. I would never change my history today, because who had I become if I didn't have that history? That history is part of me. It's part of my experience, is part of the learning that I've gotten. So all of that is the thing that's created me and was the platform that took me to where I am today. And in the 3-step, I have preparing the ground, where we really start. I'll come back to that in a minute. And then creating your blueprint for success is the second, and building your ideal life. That's the third part of the book. And let me dive a little bit more into those. So preparing the ground, that means we really need to have the decision to change. We want to really, really want it. What's the why? Part of what kept me going to change was that I wanted to show my children how you didn't have to be like such a low introvert person, but how you could change and how you could create your own life. That's been one of my drivers. But it was also that day when I was so tired back in '96 that I just couldn't take it anymore. And I said, something had to get done. We want to take ownership of our life. What are you good at? What happened so far in your life? And what is it that you can? Some of the times in my life that really had hit home for me, where maybe there's something else in me that I believe. One of the time was in the kindergarten, when we were, I don't remember why, but we were sitting some parents, some mothers, and creating some different things to sell. And the rest of the group was trying to create this animal, and I was looking over, and I've been pretty creative all my life. It's kind of been my escape. And I was thinking to myself, they can figure it out. Don't push myself up to that. Like, there's no need for me to go in. I would just be pushy. No, all of these, that little voice inside of us that's just going on and saying, don't put yourself up. They're better than you are. And yada, yada, yada. But then all of a sudden, one of them turned to me and said, hey, let's ask for Westerly. In Germany, they always are last name. She knows exactly what to do. And I was so humbled and so shocked. And yes, I did know. But her words, especially because at the same time I've been talking myself into not helping out, not sharing what I knew, that made an impact. Another time, because I like to cook and it's not really a problem for me, and I was helping out at an event, and we had to cook for 100 people over the weekend, and I was in charge of that, and I had some people coming in and out and helping. But otherwise, I was in charge, and for me, that's fairly easy. I mean, it's not a big deal. But when I shared afterwards, people were saying, how could you do that? And I realized maybe there's something that I can do. So think about, what is it for talents that you have, that you find so easy, and that you think that everyone else can do this exact same thing as you? Maybe they can't. Maybe that. I know there's something that you can do that nobody else, well, of course there's some, but few people can do. I never thought about myself having some special talents. But when I started to own those, I realized there's things that I'm good at. I like to cook. I like to be creative. There's things that I want. I can. And there's other things that other people can. But we all have things that make us unique. And that's really what I want people to own in this first step. Finding peace in you. One of the big things is that we blame ourselves for not having taken that step. But it's okay. The most important thing is that you do it now. And start finding that peace and that balance, which is an ongoing theme over the whole book, because it's not easy to build that peace in you. But we're starting up finding the peace when we start to prepare the ground. And then open up your life. Open up to change. Start to love yourself. Because one of the saying that all my clients and myself have been in common is that we do not love ourselves when we feel like that. So exercises to start to love yourself. Appreciate what you can. Saying thank you for yourself. Recognize when you do something or when people say something to you. Instead of discarding it, recognize it. Take it in. And free your voice. Because most people that I have worked with, they have the same problems as I had with their voice. They're afraid to speak up. Some people have the same very low volume of voice. Other people, they just shut up. So free your voice is another part that we start on in part 1, and that build up and build on and build on as you free yourself and you grow your life. Believe in you. Believe you can. This is another core message from part 1 that I really want you to own. And I want to share with you a story that's not the person who had been bullied, but he was bullied in some, but he just didn't take it in. When he started, he went on a race. He was 60 something, and he's always been a sheep farmer. He always been able to run out and take in guard his sheep. Just show you a picture of him already. It's Cliff Young in Australia, and you might have heard about him. But his story is so exciting, I find, because he wanted to participate in a run. He never done that, and he wanted to do it, but he had no idea what it really was. And the only race there was within his area was the 100-mile race. It was run over several days. He didn't know the rules. He didn't know that you're supposed to sleep at night. He was so used to running through the night when the weather was bad and he had to protect his sheep. So he just went down there and signed up, as you see him there, because it might be raining, so he had on his rain. Yeah, you see him. And they were just shaking their head at him and said, "You can't do that. Are you sure? And you're too old and you don't know anything about that." But it didn't stop him from going. He believed in him. He believed that he could do it. And all the other was like in the 20s, fit runners, running gear and everything made up. And they start to run. And the young ones, they just ran ahead, and he was running in a very slow pace. And he was far behind on the first day. Didn't stop him. He didn't realize that the rest of the group had went into sleep because he never came to that place. Next morning, they were still ahead of him. But the last night, he overcame all of them as they were sleeping, and he came in as number one. He believed he could. And that's big thing. We have to believe that we can change, which is not easy when we feel low and have a low self-esteem. But I want to share you one of the things that will help me later on. The second part of the book is we want to find out, what do you really want out of your life? We want to set goals, because without a destination, it's really hard to change. So we want to describe, what is it like? How does that mountaintop over there look like for us? It doesn't matter that it's on the other side of the ocean. We want to know where we are going. And you probably heard a lot about this part before, goal setting and all of that. But it's still so important to find out that. So the next part is really create the blueprint for success. Make the future yours. What is it you want? Start dreaming. And make some goals that are yours. Because too often, I see people that have goals that are something they should do. And make some easy goals, like you should lose weight or you should stop smoking. But it doesn't really work unless it's something we really want. So I help you and guide you through that. And also, how do we set the goals for personal development? How do we set a goal to stop feeling that anxiety? To raise our self-esteem. How do we do that? That's some of the things I share. Because there's a lot of different ways to do that, but we have to know why and how to do it. And in the book, there's a lot of examples on that. But one of the things that helped me was when I had this vision about speaking that kept coming and kept coming. And in the end, I said, I gotta do something about it. So I set a big goal. In 5 years, I wanted to have spoken to 20,000 people. Like, far out goal, totally outside my reach at that time. But because it was so hard for me to speak, I wanted to set a goal that was so big, well, then out in the future, that I could take the steps. And then I broke it down. So I took a speaking training and I started to reach out to places like Rotary to speak and to ask them, can I speak for you for free? And after some years, when I started to get paid speaking, and I've been speaking out in different countries, making workshops, doing trainings, and I feel free. Today, I don't know if I ever reached 20,000 people, but it doesn't matter because the growth in me, that goal was the biggest goal. And that have happened. So today, I can speak. So that big goal doesn't matter because I reached it. I reached it in a way that increased my self-esteem and my belief that I could do it. And that's one way that we can set goals, one example of a goal to raise our self-esteem. And then we want to make it visual and tangible. We want to really see it. And I illustrated this with this picture that you might have seen before. And if you haven't, it's a picture that can both be seen as an old woman and a young girl. And if you can't see that, like down here for the old woman, here's the mouth, you have the nose, you have the eyes, and you have the scarf door here. And the young woman, you have the hair and the facial, where you have like a cheek. This is the ear, this is the nose. And this is the necklace that she have on her. When we set a goal and we want to visualize it and we want to say like an affirmation, that for me with the speaking, I'm happily speaking for 100 people in the room. And as soon as I would say that, my little voice would say, it's wrong. You can't speak up. You're so much anxiety. What are you thinking about? It's never gonna happen. And whenever I try to say that affirmation and see it, that's what came up for me. And I realized there was one word missing, one word that really made a big impact on me when I figured out that it was missing. And that one word is, I choose to. Like right now, just for this 1 minute, I choose to believe that I can speak and feel happy and free speaking to 100 people. I didn't get that little voice when I said it that way. Maybe in the next session, next minute, I wouldn't believe it again. But as long as I could make it believable for just a short while, when I said this, it was still something that started to change my belief and how I saw myself. So whenever you have challenges with like saying affirmation or seeing yourself reach your goal, try to use I choose to. I choose to believe it just for now. It's been such a big word for me that I really start to use it. I never seen it used that way for other people, but that's really what helped for me. So I want you to take that at least from this webinar and use that word when you don't believe that you really can. The last part of life after bullying, that's where you get all the tools that you can play around with, see what it is that really work for you. That's the part that's transforming into the new you. Because when you're going for your goals, when you want to stand there, that limiting beliefs are going to pop up the head. And how can we work with that? So I won't go like a whole lot into these things today, but I'm just going to mention a few. One of them is like create time for you. Create that time for you to change. If you don't take, even if it's 10 minutes a day, that you decide that I'm going to work on my life, on my future, it's never going to happen. So create that time, even in our busy lives. Find minutes where you can work on your life and your change. Learn from your life. Listen to the feedback that you get. Like when I shared about how I found out that we are all unique, that we all have special gifts, and I started realizing mine, that was because I was listening to the feedback that I was getting. Expand your comfort zone. That is one of the other things that we can do. And take small steps to just jump outside that comfort zone. Like when I moved to Germany, I took some big steps outside my comfort zones. I kept pushing it out because I was with people who didn't know me. So I could play around. And I knew I was only going to be there for a few years. So I could kind of play with it and go with it. It wasn't easy. I did cry quite a few times, but I kept moving on and do it. And it's way easier to do that with support. So that's one of the get support is one big thing as well. I'm going back to that specific thing later on. I share with you some tapping, some REM, regenerating images, memory, one of the things that I really use a lot to help people today. Some breathing techniques and other things. And some of these things are shared on my webpage as well. So you have some of these guided. There's a tapping video and other things that you can use without even signing up. What I want to give you today for being here, that is a PDF with the flower, because I created this and it just came yesterday from the designer, because I wanted to illustrate what is the path for you to take, what's the journey. So I will share that when I send that out together with the recording within the next 48 hours. So that's your special gift. Another one that I decided to do, and I just decided to do it yesterday, so I haven't created it yet, but it's going to come up the next couple of weeks. That's the Life After Bullying community that I'm really, really excited about. Everyone who's on my mailing list, and because you signed up for this, you're on my mailing list. And you are on the mailing list as long as you want, and you can, of course, unsubscribe anytime you want to. But staying on the mailing list will give you access to my Life After Bullying community. And in this place, I'm going to share with you more free things. Like whenever I do a webinar, whenever I do special meditations and stuff, I put it in there and you will have access to it because you're on my list. All for free. It's going to cost you nothing to be on that. My goal is to help as many people as possible. My goal is to help people grow and to help people live a life that's fulfilling, that the quality is increased, like have that life of the dream. And yes, I have products that you can take to expand your life and to work even more intensely. But Life After Bullying community, everyone can be in that. It's for you. It's for everyone. So I'm very excited about it. I'm going to figure out exactly how I'm going to make it, but it will be created. And then you'll get a link to that specific place. It might not be like tomorrow, it might take 2 weeks, but it's going to come. So that's the vision for that. And my biggest challenge and how I overcame it, that's one of the other things that I want to share about you. And I love this picture because it's really illustrated. Even like I don't have a physical handicap. When you're bullied, when you have such a low self-esteem and you have so much anxiety, it's a handicap. And we want to find that support. So for me, my biggest challenge was that whenever I was together with my family, my old friends, or just in places where I knew and had been before, what would happen was I would go right back into my old me. No matter how much I had changed in the beginning, I would go back into my old me. And I could just viscerally feel myself inside going, ugh. My voice would drop. My self-esteem would drop. Everything, especially in the beginning. Now I kind of, when you pull out a rubber band, at one point you pull it out so far, it's never going to be going back as far out. But in the beginning, it's not pulled all the way out, so it kept going back. So whenever I was together in some known surroundings and with old people and old, even family, I could feel myself going back. That was my biggest challenge, because every time I thought, it's not working. What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. It's okay. It's just because that's how our body experiences it. So the 3 ways that made the most sense for me, that really worked for me, that was support. I was lucky I had support of my husband. He was a great supporter. I started to go out in new groups. Like, as I said before, I like being creative. So I found some creative groups where they didn't know me. And I started to be in those groups. And whenever I went there, I took on some special clothes. And I will do my best to act as if I was more outgoing than I really was in the beginning. And that really helped a lot. When I started to change, like the internet wasn't as it is today. But over the past 7 years, I have been into physical trainings and also online trainings where there have been some groups that was just all about change and where we could share our deepest secret and we can get support of each other. So those closed forums, like on Facebook today, they can really help a lot to find the right one for you. It might be in your community. I have created one for the people who buy a product from me. But no matter where you go and find these trainings or these forums, find them and get that support out of you. Because if you have a place where you can feel you can open out your heart and you can get that support, it's really going to help you. I have shared some of my biggest challenges and gotten some great feedback on how I could overcome them. And I have shared my biggest success there, all of my success, small and big, and get some high fives and stuff that also help you grow and help you work. So where do you find support? In your area, there might be groups. Some churches have groups. Online, you might find something that's just right for you. So these are ways that you can go ahead and find some. Like in Denmark, we have evening classes where you can go and take a specific subject, like learning a language, being creative, photo classes, food classes. And you sign up for like half a year and 10 times sometime. And you come out, you meet some new people, and you can experience with yourself in some safe surroundings because they don't know you. If you want to work with kind of my community and what I created, then I am in the process of making an online course that will start on February 25th. It's going to consist of 12 lessons. This is do it yourself, but you will have access to the closed Facebook group for me. And normally that will be selling for $395, and the introduction price is $195. Group coaching is where you have access to the online course, and at the same time I will do some group coaching. So you will meet every 2 weeks for 4 months and ask questions, and I will dive more into specific topics that's relevant for the group. The price will normally be $14.95, and the introduction price is $9.95. I just want to share you with that. But what I really want for you is that you find somewhere that fit you. Can be with me or someone else. I don't care. I just want you to start your own journey. Start moving outside your comfort zone. Start living the life that you dream of. That's what I want for you. There's also a one-on-one option. And on the web page, you can find a Work with Lotte, and there's a place to get a free introduction call to see if that's the right one, if you're thinking about that. More importantly, on lifeafterbullying.com, the homepage, you will find the Life After Bullying workbook with all the exercises, and you can just go ahead, even if you don't have the book, you can take that and go through the exercises. There won't be like the chapter description, but all the exercises is there for you to take free. You don't even have to sign up. There's also a tapping video, a tapping meditation, and other free resources from the book on that page. If you want to join one of the trainings, then join a course is where you go. And if you want to work one-on-one, click on the Work with Lotte. So that's the 3 button that's relevant. And that was everything that I had for you right now. And let me just check if there's any of you who had a chat. Any questions for me? You can just either unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can type it in the chat.
Hi Lottie, can you hear me? It's Natalie.
Hi.
Yeah, I was just wondering, where can I purchase the book?
At the website as well. There's about the book. There's a link to Amazon.
It's online now. I've tried to find the website, but what's the actual handle? Is it .co.uk or .com?
I think the Life After the Amazon link goes to the .com and but Amazon on UK. Most of the online bookstores actually do have it. So if you just go after Life After Bullying, you can find it.
Yeah, no, I've got it now. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? Just stop this, yeah. Okay. So if there's any other questions, please come in with that. I cannot. There's someone chatted in. Help. That was it. Anything else? Anyone else who have a question or anything? And you can type it in if you want. Doesn't look like it. Now just end the recording, and you're welcome to ask any questions you have after, so it's not going on the recording. So just stop that for now. 1 second.